I'm 32, work as a billing coordinator at a small medical office, and I live alone in a suburban neighborhood on the outskirts of the city. I'm not exactly adventurous. I like routines, quiet nights, and keeping to myself. My car is old, but reliable, a dark blue sedan I've had for 7 years. This happened last December, one of those cold, gray nights where the streets are slick with rain and the fog sticks to your windshield. I had just finished a long shift, the office mostly empty, except for the cleaning crew mopping the hallways. My commute is usually uneventful, a 25-minute drive along a few main streets, then out onto a stretch of highway that cuts through wooded suburbs before finally looping back into the city where I live. I left work around 10:30 p.m., my mind still half in spreadsheets and insurance claims, my hands sticky from the coffee I had to gulp down to stay awake. I remember locking the office doors, hearing the echo of my keys clanging in the empty parking lot, the distant hum of the streetlights overhead. Nothing felt unusual at the time, just another late-night drive home, the kind I'd done 100 times before. I was tired, drained, and mostly looking forward to crawling into bed, maybe binge a few episodes of some dumb show. I didn't think about danger, or the fact that sometimes people are just unpredictable when the streets are quiet and the city is asleep. I started my drive the usual way, radio low, fogged up windows, windshield wipers scraping steadily against the rain-slick glass. There's a diner I sometimes stop at if I leave work late, but I hadn't tonight. I just wanted to get home. Streetlights flickered intermittently as I drove through the familiar industrial stretch near the hospital where I worked. Traffic was light, just the occasional sedan passing in the opposite direction, the occasional truck groaning on the wet asphalt. I passed a couple of late-night gas stations, their neon signs buzzing. I remember thinking how quiet it was, how normal it all felt. That's the thing. You notice the unusual best when everything else is perfectly ordinary. I had the heater on, the warm air hitting my cheeks. My hands rested lightly on the wheel, tapping to the quiet music playing. I passed a small park where I sometimes see joggers in the early morning. The playground empty now, swings swaying in the cold wind. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister, just a "you home yet?" kind of thing. I replied quickly, normal stuff. I took the turn onto the highway stretch that cuts through the woods, the trees forming dark walls on either side. I like that part of the drive. It's quiet, meditative even. The road is long and straight, with only the occasional streetlight illuminating puddles in the asphalt. The rain had let up, leaving a fine mist that clung to my windshield. I slowed slightly to avoid hydroplaning over the few remaining wet spots. Everything was as it always was. I passed the curve near the old abandoned gas station, headlights reflecting off broken glass in the dirt lot. No one was around. I felt my tension from work start to ease. I was just driving home. Simple, mundane, safe. Or so I thought. I noticed it when I rounded a long curve in the highway, the headlights behind me. At first, I didn't think much of it. It's normal to see someone catch up to you, especially at night. But something felt off. This car was unusually close, staying precisely a car length behind me, matching my speed perfectly. I glanced in the rearview mirror. It was an older black SUV, dented, with dim headlights. The kind of vehicle you don't often see around here. My first thought was maybe the driver was in a rush, or lost. I shrugged, tried to ignore it, and focused on the road. But then I noticed that as I changed lanes, they did too. Not immediately, not obviously, but subtly, in a way that suggested intent. I rationalized it. Maybe they were just following the same route home. Maybe it was coincidence. The highway had a few cars, but they were sparse. I blinked, adjusted my mirror, checked my speed. The SUV remained there, patient, silent. No horn, no signals, just this quiet, steady presence. I tried to push the feeling away. My heart rate increased slightly, but I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe it was someone heading to a friend's house. Maybe I was tired. Maybe the reflection of my own stress was making me imagine patterns. Still, I could feel it. This weight in my chest, a pressure I couldn't shake. Something about the way they moved, the exact precision, made my skin prickle. I thought about stopping at the next gas station to wait them out, but a small, stubborn part of me didn't want to overreact. So I kept driving, just a little more cautiously now. I took deep breaths, tried to remind myself I was being rational. People drive behind each other all the time. It was just another car. Nothing more. I exited onto a narrower road, a winding two-lane street flanked by trees and houses spaced far apart. My speed dropped naturally as I rounded the curves. The SUV followed. Still no lights flicking, no sudden acceleration, just following. My hands gripped the wheel tighter. Then it happened. I passed a small clearing where a side street branched off, dimly lit by a single street lamp. As I went by, I caught a glimpse of the driver. A man, maybe in his late 30s, scruffy hair, plain hoodie. Nothing alarming on its own, but the way he stared directly at me through the windshield made my stomach knot. Eyes fixed, not glancing, just watching. I sped up. He mirrored me. I slowed. He slowed. It became a silent game, a tense rhythm I couldn't break. My heart was pounding in my ears now. I considered pulling over somewhere safe, a store or even a police station. But most of this road is empty at night. I had to keep moving. I noticed that every few minutes, the SUV would flash its high beams once or twice. I couldn't tell if it was intentional or just a reflex, but the effect was disorienting, momentarily blinding me on the wet road. I tried to focus, tried to shake the fear, but the adrenaline had my muscles coiled tight. I drove past the curve where the trees crowd close and block the view of houses. I felt trapped, hemmed in by the darkness and the quiet, relentless presence behind me. The car never honked, never followed too closely. But the mere act of being there, silent and patient, was suffocating. I tried dialing my sister, thinking I could talk to someone, let her hear my voice, but my hands were shaking. The phone kept dropping the call. I must have hit a dead zone. My eyes flicked to the rearview mirror again, and there he was, calm, watching, waiting. I felt utterly exposed. A rational part of me knew it could still be coincidence. Someone lost, someone bored. But another part, the part that clenches your stomach, that screams when you feel hunted, told me this was different. I took the next exit, a loop that eventually led back into town, hoping the streetlights and occasional houses would break the tension. I slowed, signaling a right turn into a 24-hour convenience store parking lot. The SUV followed the exit. I parked under a flickering light, engine still running, and watched him stop at the far end of the lot. He didn't get out. He didn't honk. He just sat there, idling. My hands were trembling. I debated calling the police, but I kept thinking, if he wanted to do something now, it's already too late. I locked my doors, sat for a few seconds, then tried to catch a glimpse of his face again. His eyes met mine in the mirror. Not angry, not smiling, just still. A kind of calm that made my skin crawl. I whispered to myself, "Please, just go. But instead of leaving, he started driving slowly around the lot, never too close, never leaving, just circling. My pulse spiked. I started the car, ready to drive out, but the layout of the lot forced me into a narrow lane. He mirrored me, engine quiet now. I could hear my own breathing. I was frozen for a second, realizing there was no easy escape. Then I remembered the main road, the highway, anywhere with traffic. I floored it, tires squealing slightly on the wet asphalt. He followed for a few seconds. Then, suddenly, he was gone. I don't know if he turned off onto a side street or just let me go. I didn't care. I drove straight to the nearest police station, hands shaking as I explained what happened. The officer took a report, nodding politely. "We'll check traffic cameras," he said, though I could tell he didn't expect to find anything. That was fine. I just wanted someone else to know. Some official record that this had happened. The drive home from the station felt unreal. Every turn, every shadow, made me flinch. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting the SUV to be there again. I slept fitfully that night. Lights on, doors locked. In the weeks afterward, I couldn't stop thinking about him. I kept imagining his calm eyes, the way he mirrored my movements, the precision of it. It didn't make sense. He could have had any number of intentions, but the ambiguity was worse than certainty. I avoided late-night drives whenever possible. When I couldn't, I drove through well-lit streets, avoiding empty roads. I checked my locks obsessively. Even now, months later, I notice headlights behind me and tense automatically, scanning the rearview mirror. I reported the incident online, on a forum, hoping someone might have seen something similar. People reassured me that most likely it was a coincidence, a lost driver. But that part of me that experienced it firsthand knows how unnerving it was. I still carry that memory vividly. The rain-slick road, the flickering street lamp, the calm, predatory patience of someone just following. It's been over a year now, and I still think about that night. I replay it often in my mind, analyzing my choices, the signs I missed, the moments I hesitated. I wonder what he wanted, why he lingered, why he didn't escalate. Sometimes, late at night, I see a vehicle behind me and my chest tightens. The instinct doesn't fade. Even in the safety of my driveway, I check the rearview mirror, just in case. The worst part isn't what happened. It's what could have happened. The not knowing. The silent, watching presence that doesn't announce itself, doesn't explain itself. It's a reminder that danger isn't always obvious. It can just follow you home. And once, long after I thought I had processed it, I got a notification on my phone. A random, unknown number. No message, just the number. My stomach sank. I never called back. I haven't. But sometimes, I wonder if he ever really left.